Hey guys, welcome to your next project dealing with APIs. In this video we're going to use the Weather Underground API, which is one that I've used for years now for building weather applications with React and Angular, React Native. I have a YouTube video building one with React Native. Now we're going to build one with just plain old JavaScript. We're going to use a bootstrap layout, and we're actually going to use a modal. If you see how we have Miami, Florida is the default, and we can get all this different weather information, even a little icon representing whatever the condition is at that time. And we can click change location, and we'll get a little modal pop up here, and we can change, for instance, to Boston, Mass, and save, and then that'll change. Now if I reload the page, it's going to stay Boston, Mass, because we're using local storage. If I were to look at my Chrome tools and go to application and local storage and look at file, you'll see that I have the city and state stored here, and this will be here even if we exit the browser and come back. So it's a nice little application we're going to build. We're going to use the fetch API again to make our request to the W Underground API. Now again, you will need to register to use this API, so you want to go to wunderground.com/API and just click register or sign in, and then register from there. And you should then have a panel like this where you can see your key settings. This is your API key, and then if you go to documentation, it shows you how to make a request, and it's very easy. All you do is use this URL. You have your API key, which they automatically put in here for you, /condition/q, and then whatever state you want, and then whatever city, and then .json. And if we look at the response, you'll see that we have this object that has a response object, which isn't really important to us. What's important to us is this current observation object, and this is what has everything in it. It has the all the display, all the location information, if you want to use like the zip code and all that stuff. But then down here we have all the weather stuff. So you can see we have a weather string, partly cloudy, temperature string, which shows Fahrenheit and Celsius. We can also get just Fahrenheit or just Celsius. We can get the humidity, we can get the wind, the dew points, the precipitation, the icon URL. So there's a lot of stuff that we can get here. So this is a really nice API to work with. All right, so this is what we're going to be building. So I want to start off by just creating the UI, which isn't going to be too difficult. So let's create a new folder here, and we're going to call this WeatherJS. That's going to be what we'll call this application. And let's create, actually it's not create, let's open this up in code. And then from here we'll create our files. All right, so of course we need index.html. We also want our main app.js. We want a file called weather.js, and that's what we're going to use to make our request to the API. We want a UI.js file for dealing with the user interface. And then since we're using local storage, I'm also going to put that in its own file. So I'm really separating the different parts of the application here into different files. And if you notice, the way that we're programming has changed along the way. Back in the DOM projects, we just kind of threw everything in the app.js file. We didn't have classes, we didn't have anything like that. Now I'm trying to give you a better way to structure your applications. Before it wasn't so important. We were just learning the syntax and the DOM and things like that. So I wanted to focus on that, but now we're trying to structure our applications a little better, and I'm sure you've noticed that. So let's go to index.html, and this is going to be a bootstrap theme. So let's see, we're actually going to use Bootswatch again because they have some really nice customized themes. So let's go to bootswatch.com, and I'm going to use this first one, this cerulean. So I'll click download, and we'll copy that link. And then I'm just going to put my standard structure using Emmet. And then we'll do link. Oops. We'll throw in that bootstrap or Bootswatch theme. We'll change the title here to WeatherJS. And we also want to include the Bootstrap JavaScript. So if we go to getbootstrap.com and go to Get Started and go right here, we want these 3 lines. So this is the Bootstrap JavaScript as well as the dependencies. Okay, and then we want to make sure we include our scripts. So let's say script source, and this will be, let's do storage.js. I'm just going to copy this. So we need 3 more. So we'll have storage, then we'll have the WeatherJS, then we'll have UI.js, and then app.js. And save, and now we can start to build the body. So let's go right below the opening body tag and create a container, which will push everything to the middle. Let's create a row. We're going to use the grid. Now we're going to use a 6-column div here, column D6, but I want to push it to the middle, so we're also going to add the mxAuto class. And then I want text center, I want it to be blue, so I'm going to add the BG primary class. And let's do margin top 5. Let's do padding all around 5. And let's do rounded. That'll give us rounded corners. Alright, so quite a few classes there. And then we'll put an H1. I'm going to give this an ID of w-location. So the way I'm doing this is a little bit different. I'm going to create an element for each part. For instance, the location, which will be in an H1. Then we'll have the weather string, which will be like partly cloudy. I'm going to do it in each separate element rather than putting the entire HTML in JavaScript and inserting it into one div, which is a kind of a different way of doing it. So let's put an H3 here. I'm also going to give this H3 a class of text dark to make it black, and then we're going to give this an ID of W. Yeah, is that what I want? Location, and then yeah, W-DESC for description. So that'll be an H3, and then we want another H3 with the ID of W string. Okay, so this will be like partly cloudy, and then the string will be the temperature string, which will have the Fahrenheit and Celsius. And then under that we'll have our image, and we're going to generate the source of the image through JavaScript, so we don't need that. All we need is an ID, and we're going to set that to w-icon. Okay, and then underneath that we'll have a UL, and this will have a class of list-group, and let's also give it a class of MT3, give it some margin top. And I also want this to have an ID of w-details. Okay, and then we're going to have a few list items here, all with the class of list group item. And then let's see, this will have an ID, and I want this to be the humidity, so it'll be w-humidity. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Alright, and then we'll just copy this. So we'll have humidity, we'll have dew point, we'll have feels like, so feels-like, and we'll have the wind. So this is all stuff that we can fetch from the API. Okay, now we're also going to have a modal which will open up a pop-up where we can put in our location. We can change our location, but we need a button for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Bootstrap website and go to Components and then Modal. Instead of just typing it all out, let's go down to where it says Live Demo right here. We're going to copy this button and go right under the UL, and I'm going to put an HR, a horizontal rule, and then paste in that button. And then I'm just going to change a couple things. I'm going to change the text here to say change location. we're going to change the data target to LOC modal, so location modal. And then that should be it for that. Now we need the actual modal, which is this part here. Okay, so we'll grab that and we'll put that down at the bottom. We're going to change the ID to loc modal so that the button above links to it. We'll change the title here to loc modal label, and then this ID to loc modal label. And then this modal title right here, we're going to change that to choose location. All right, and then let's see, we're going to want a form in the body. So let's go down. Yeah, let's go in the body here. And let's say form. We'll give this an ID of w-form. We don't need an action. And inside here, let's put a form group. And we'll have a label. This will be for the city. And then an input. This will have an ID of city. And let's give it a class of form control, which is just a bootstrap class to make the input look good. And then I'm going to copy the whole form group and do the same thing, and this is going to be for the state. Okay, and then in the footer, we have a close button. We can actually leave that the way it is. And then this button here, I'm just going to give that an ID of w-change button, or change btn, and save. So let's check that out. Let's see if we go to, that's not it. We want to open this up with live server, see what it looks like. Alright, so notice we don't have any text in here, and that's fine because we're going to fetch it from the API. We just basically have placeholders up here. Alright, so all this stuff, it's just placeholders. If I click change location, we get our little modal drop down. Alright, good. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll create we'll work in our weather.js file. We're going to create a weather class where we can fetch the data from the API and bring that in, and then we'll have the UI.js class actually insert the data into the elements here. Alright, so I will see you in the next video.